All right, everyone. Grab your sleeping bags and your favorite PJs. You are invited to a sleepover here on the Leftover Pizza Podcast.
Thank you.
Should consider yourself lucky.
I do, because this is the first invite I've ever gotten for a sleepover anywhere.
Oh, nuh-uh. I don't believe it.
Yeah, no, I lied. I got invited all the time. I was the most popular kid in school. Okay, what can I say?
So sleepovers.
Yeah, ignore me, just like everybody in elementary school. Continue.
You had to have had some good sleepovers. Did you have some good sleepovers when you were a kid?
Yeah, I had some good ones. I'm sure that we'll talk about it. Yeah.
I had some pretty good
bring
ones.
it up.
I had some pretty good ones myself, and as far as I'm concerned, they made for some of the best weekends of all time. And now, as adults, we all have this thing called responsibilities. We enjoy being in the comfort of our own homes, to be asleep at a decent hour, and there's really no way to replicate a good sleepover. Thus, the glory of Leftover Pizza Podcast.
Yes, indeed. And I will say, you are not wrong about wanting to be asleep at a decent hour. There's nothing more torturous than being out past my bedtime now. Yeah. I have turned into that crotchety old man.
We're actually there right now. It's 9:11 as we're speaking. We're way past our bedtimes.
I'm glancing at my wristwatch every 5 minutes saying, is this over yet? Are we done yet?
So anyways, join us. Live vicariously through our handsome voices as we both build a scenario of absolute epic proportions and highlight the best parts of sleepovers of the past.
That's right. So, when we were kids, Grimey, is this a fact? Is this true? Sleepovers were either really, really good or really horribly, terribly bad. There was no in between.
So the majority of mine were just kind of good and mostly bad.
Exactly. So they were really on the bad end
side
of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So that's exactly it. Is it seemed like there was no middle of the road where it was just like, oh, I had an okay time. Mm-hmm. No, that's never how it went. But yeah, like you said, depending, you had your people, right? Yeah. Like for me, I had my cousin. He was my sleepover guy. Okay. We lived a few streets away from each other, and maybe a couple times a month, he would come to my house or I would go to his house. We'd swap off, and those were my best sleepovers ever. We would just have a great time. We would play games all night. We would eat whatever we wanted to eat, go to bed whenever we wanted to go to bed. And my parents really didn't care because they knew each other very well because we were cousins. So it was like, fine, go ahead. But when I did sleepovers with people like friends who I might not have known very long, or I was getting invited over, for a birthday sleepover or something, I always seemed to have the worst time because I felt so awkward and so shy and just like ashamed that I wasn't at home in my own bed. Like I would rather just be in bed at a normal hour than be up late with these kids that I barely knew.
Yeah, see, I could see that one being set up for like a really shitty time. Most of my sleepovers, all the really good ones, they all had to be either the ones that I threw or two, the ones that my very close friends. We all had a very small knit group. We all slept over each other's houses. We would actually go in a strand sometimes. One night we'd sleep over at my place. The following night we'd sleep over at my buddy's place, and so on and so forth. Those ones were always good, but there was one in between, at least once, where it was like, I'm here at my cousin's place, and I know none of these kids. I'm not familiar with N64. I'm not familiar with fucking Star Wars. Like, what am I going to do? Mom, I need to come home.
I don't know how to play these games, Mom. I don't know how to play these games. But yeah, no, the ones that you always threw, you had the home field advantage, man. Of course those were going to be great sleepovers. You were steering that ship. But I guess that's what this whole episode and this whole night is about, Grimey. The Leftover Pizza Podcast Sleepover. It's going to be the best fucking sleepover that anybody's ever had.
The best fucking sleepover.
I lost my train of thought. But no, really, that's the whole point of this, is we are building out our ideal sleepover night. We'll be talking a little bit about some memories and some things that happened to us in the past. But really, what we're doing, you, the listener, are going to join us on the greatest sleepover that anybody has ever thrown or ever attended, period.
Give me pizza! P-I-Z-Z-A! Give me pizza!
So I think it's appropriate that we start with food. What do you think?
I think so. I think you're absolutely right, because the food was definitely the most important part of any sleepover, said the nerd. No, really, it was. I mean, I know we all like to think about, we're getting to play games and socialize and hang out, but really, any good sleepover, the setup was having dinner beforehand.
Oh, yeah. Now, I've only fallen into this one time where I slept over another person's house. Did you ever have to eat someone else's cruddy food at dinner? Like, they didn't just buy you a bunch of snacks. You had to eat someone else's, like, full-on dinner. And it was always, like, something you're not familiar with eating. And it just flat out wasn't something you wanted to eat, but you had to eat it because, like, you didn't want to be the dickhead kid that's not eating their food.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. And, like, this is where we're starting. Because... again, my cousin, he was my sleepover guy, okay? My aunt and uncle, they could not cook to save their life. I'm surprised that these kids are still alive today. Like, I'm surprised that those kids did not die of starvation at a certain point because they were that bad at cooking. I remember specifically, there was one meal. It was actually during the summer, one of our summer sleepovers, and his dad went outside to grill us up some burgers for dinner. Dude... when people say like a hockey puck, they never actually mean it like it was the consistency of a hockey puck. These burgers were a hockey puck. Like, I don't know how I could bite through them. I don't think I did bite through them. It was so dry.
You'd almost rather be eating an actual puck?
Yeah, maybe. There might have been less flavor to an actual puck. Like, this was just full of burnt, disgusting, dry meat flavor. So, yeah, anytime I would eat over their house when I would sleep over, just a bad time because they couldn't cook, and they always had the weirdest snacks too. Like, I know this might be sort of a New England thing, but do you know Cape Cod chips? Do you have those?
Yeah, we got them here. We've seen them. I know what they are.
Do you have I'm trying to think of the name, but they've got all the different varieties.
Yeah.
Well, there's one variety that they market it in some special way, but really what it is just all of like the overcooked chips that are like way too cooked, like almost burnt.
Yeah.
Like they're almost burnt chips. And like that was the shit that they'd have in their house. So my cousin would be like, "You want some chips?" And I'd be like, "Hell yeah, break out the chips." And he'd bring over these fucking like burnt ass kettle chips, and I'm like, "What is this?" And then like my sister always brings it up in their house. I don't know, man. They just had like the weirdest cereals too. Yeah. And they would eat cereal as snacks. They were those type of a kid where they would just pour dry cereal in a bowl. And so at one point they were like, "Oh, you guys want some Kicks?" And we're like, "Oh, we don't really have Kicks at our house, but okay, we'll try them." And my cousins broke out Kicks dry in a bowl and took out spray butter and buttered the cereal.
What the fuck?
And would eat it like popcorn. And then, in a twist of fate, Grimey, they would make freshly made air-popped popcorn and not butter the popcorn.
So they're buttering cereal. Eating bags of all burnt chips and fucking not buttering popcorn.
Yes,
wow.
And in the event that they didn't cook and we didn't have to eat the food that was in the house, that my aunt and uncle would take us out somewhere, they would always order for the table. We couldn't just order our own meals.
Oh, no.
And I'll never forget this. We went to a Chinese restaurant, and I was about 7 or 8 years old.
Okay.
And they ordered all of the shit that you don't want from a Chinese restaurant. But the one that I remember most, the biggest portion that they ordered was egg foo young.
Oh, okay.
Which is basically just a big Chinese omelet.
Yeah, pretty much.
But as a 7-year-old kid, I didn't like eggs.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want fucking crab rangoons, man. I want some chicken fingers. So even when we would go out to eat on a sleepover night, bad times. Bad food all around.
Oh my God. Now this is the same cousin who like you felt awkward around because of he's just like with all of his own friends and not anyone you knew.
Oh no, that only ever happened like a handful of times. No. It was usually just him and I.
That's good.
No. It was usually just him and I hanging out, having a good time.
That's good.
But when I got home field advantage, it was pretty good because my parents, they're good cooks. They are still good cooks. sometimes they would cook a meal, but a lot of times if we were having a sleepover, they'd be like, all right, we're picking up a pizza. That was the go-to for my sleepover dinners at my house.
And that's where I'll take off on. Like, if I was having any kids over my place, the easy one and done's pizza. I mean, here's a couple bucks. I'm going to work. Order a pizza, behave. And we left it at that. So that was one thing. But there were several occasions where at that point I had a paper out. So I did have my own money. I had my own cash. And I think I might have mentioned it on the birthday show at one point where people would come over and hang out. But I would feel like I'd have to provide for some people. So I would go out to this little store down, there's a corner from my house, and I'd buy like, I don't know, 25-cent candies. So like little snacks, beef jerky sticks and drinks and stuff like that. And I always noticed that most of this stuff would get eaten super quickly because the anticipation of like pigging out on stuff would just hit immediately. I'd be like, well, I got to eat this stuff now. And like, I remember eating some of this stuff before my friends got over there. And I'm like, oh, well, I fucked that all up. And but
yeah, but you're getting all this junk food. It's just a natural tendency when you're a kid. You just got to scarf that shit down before somebody else does.
Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm hitting this shop up. Definitely the beef jerky's coming with me. 25-cent candies, bubble gum. You got the big thing at that point in time was like warheads and fucking crybabies. Anything sour to get a reaction out of people was a big thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely like any like little candy bars or whatever. A little like licorice was another big thing. I don't know, like the typical movie theater fare, basically.
You want to know what my go-to gas station snack is, and always has been, and still is to this day? Hot fries, baby.
Hot fries? Oh, dude, yeah, the fucking Andy Caps hot
fries.
No, yeah.
To me, it's like a perfect. I know most people, if they're thinking sleepover, they're thinking gas station snacks for their friends. They're thinking basic, right? They're thinking like combos. I'm going to go down and get a bag of pizza combos or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong. Andy Cap hot fries are the perfect, and I say this again, the perfect sleepover snack.
Absolutely.
They are so delicious, and the older I get, the less spicy that they are because I have actual spice tolerance now. Mm-hmm. But when you were a kid, those things... It was like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. It was like steam shooting out of my ears.
Oh, yeah.
My friends and I were basically like, how many of these can we eat before we tap out?
Yeah, that was always the goal. Whether it was hot food or like sour food.
Or sour, exactly.
Yeah, like the whole point was to just act like an idiot and have an excuse to act even more like an idiot. So like, let's fucking see how many sour things I can put in my mouth, or see how many hot fries I can eat before I tap out. Yeah, definitely those things we're coming with. As far as drink stuff goes, I remember there being 50-cent cans in the machine outside of the store that I usually go to beside a park. So I would get maybe a Mountain Dew or a Pepsi or whatever. If I went in the store to get something to drink, it would most definitely be like a Sobe or like a Snapple Element drink, which was like pretty big at that point. I know they're back now, but back then they came in the glass bottles. Yeah, I was all about drinking fucking rain and fire out of glass bottles. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
So if I'm going inside and I'm picking something, so let's just recap quickly.
Okay.
So for food, we've so far said pizza would be like a mainstay meal. But if we're going into like a gas station or a little place, we're going to be picking up things like beef jerky, maybe some Slim Jims, some sour candies, or some hot fries. You are going to grab maybe a couple Sobeys, a Snapple Element, something like that. If I'm going in, the thing that I'm going to grab is one of two things. I'm going to grab an original recipe Sierra Mist.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because nothing says sleepover or movie night, which sometimes it was both. A movie night was a sleepover night and vice versa. Then Sierra Mist. I have so many fond memories, and I don't get this with many drinks. I get it more with foods, but with many drinks. Sierra Mist, the original recipe, we've talked about it before. It was so like refreshing and crisp. It literally tasted when in your kid brain you saw those mountains on the label. It was kind of like Kid Coors, right?
Absolutely.
You're like, when those mountains are blue, it's cold. Like, to me, I was like, oh, I'm seeing those mountains. I'm drinking Sierra Mist. It tastes like this is coming running down that mountain. And they bottled it right up off that mountain.
You could practically feel the breeze in your hair when you're sipping on this shit. You're like, damn, this is good. And you knew it was good.
So to kick off a good sleepover night, I'm grabbing a Sierra Mist. And I'm going to go big because you're going to need more than one drink that night.
Sure.
Around the time that I started having sleepovers with multiple friends where I would need to stay up late. You need some caffeine.
I was going to say,
right?
you're going the right direction here.
You're going to need some caffeine. And, Surge is great.
Sure.
Okay, Red Bull is a classic.
Sure.
Monster, fine. I'm going with a little remembered, often overlooked drink from the mid-2000s. It was actually the Surge replacement for a while. I'm going with a Vault.
Vault! Drinks like a soda, kicks like an energy drink. Get to it!
Vault. Oh, I didn't see this one
I'm going
coming.
with
Vault's
a Vault.
Good. I remember Vault, yeah.
And specifically, I think I'm going to go with the Red Vault.
The red
because
one?
the regular Vault is pretty good, but the Red Vault, whatever they put in that,
It slapped.
oh boy.
Slapped hard,
Yeah, much
bro.
like Mountain Dew and its red counterpart, Code Red, where I always thought Code Red was more tasty. I thought the same thing with Vault. I thought that the Red Vault was a bit more tasty than original Vault. So those are my two things that I'm grabbing out of that cooler. I'm grabbing a Sierra Mist original recipe and a Red Vault.
So there are two other drinks that I might grab in case these ones don't do it for me. One, yeah, you've already mentioned we need more caffeine. We're going to be staying up late. The first thing we have to do is put the caffeine in the tank. And at that point in time, there weren't very many energy drinks out there. I think Jones Soda did like a can of whoop-ass one at one point. It was like a novelty thing. Really cool. But Mountain Dew Amp was all the rage at this point.
Amp energy drink from Mountain Dew. Energy.
And they had like the small cans. It isn't what they're in now. I think there still is like Mountain Dew Amp out there now and like different Mountain Dew energy drinks altogether. If we didn't grab that, we would grab a beverage called Mystic.
The intense Mystic food combination should be kicking in now. Transmission accomplished. Mystic tastes good, doesn't it?
And I know I talked about this before, and there are two reasons why we went with either one of these things. One, the caffeine. Again, excuse to be a complete asshole. We were bouncing off the walls. One sip, we wouldn't even like actually feel any caffeine. It was an excuse to fucking act like an idiot. And then the Mystic, as I mentioned a long time ago, these came in a container that looked kind of like a wine cooler. Mm-hmm. So of course we acted drunk. We would be, it's like I said, there's a park next door to this little shop. We would take a couple swigs and we'd be running into fucking slides and tripping over stuff and running into like playground equipment, just acting stupid. And I don't know if that's a common thing with like everyone's friends, but mine certainly did this a lot.
So I think that just speaks to being a teenage boy, regardless of generation, because we would do similar things. It didn't have to be a Mystic. It's just, even grabbing a Monster, right? Even if we didn't drink the full Monster, I think that we would take a few sips of it and be like, yeah, bro, I could break a table over my head right now. You know what I mean? It just pumped you up in a way that it was all placebo. Yeah. None of it was real.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
you use that as an excuse, like you said, to act like an asshole. Mm-hmm. And it didn't stop with drinks, if we're being honest. I mean, let's think back to our very early childhoods with candy cigarettes, even, or even bubblegum cigars.
Very true.
You'd sit down like a little shit, and you'd be pretending like you're taking a drag at the best cigarette in the world, and it's just this little crappy candy stick. But again, it makes you feel like you're big and important, or it just makes you feel like you're doing something special that you shouldn't be doing.
Truth. Well, we got some food in the tank. Let's say we go out and do some stuff.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm full off of pizza, and I'm a little hopped up on my Vault, so I got to burn off some of this energy, I think.
Yeah, let's kick off this sleepover.
Think of all the mature, responsible things you could be doing. Helping old ladies cross the street, proudly maintaining your yard, hanging with your folks, or cleaning your room. But get real. You'd rather be playing video games. You can rent them from Blockbuster. They've got more of the coolest new Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis games for rent than anyone in the world. So dudes, why not get your games with Blockbuster? It's the mature thing to do.
All right, to kick this one off, we still have just a little bit of prep work ahead of us, which might involve going to the video store to rent a couple of movies, perhaps?
A couple of movies, yes. No sleepover is complete without having at least a couple videos in tow, right? You have to have something for when you get home after you've gone out to eat and you've bought all your snacks. Something maybe in between playing some video games and maybe you're supposed to be asleep, but you decide that you're going to watch something after anyways, you know?
I feel like I always opted, especially during a sleepover, I would opt for the stuff that's like a little bit mature, like pushing the boundaries a little bit.
See, I would try for that, but no, it was a no-go.
Immediately fail. Yeah.
It was a no-go. I would want to see something a little raunchy, a little whatever, and my parents are like, no, I don't think so. Which is always why it was kind of great going to my cousin's house, because we didn't necessarily need to rent something.
Right.
His dad had a big collection of horror movies and risque things.
Oh, there you go.
So once everybody went to bed later at night, we would break out the risque things and watch that. But this is not about my past. This is about our ideal time right now.
Yes.
We can do whatever the fuck we want. So in this scenario, we're going to a movie store, all right? We're going to go to Blockbuster. And fuck it, you can get 15 games if you want, Grimey. You're not limited to one and one.
Truth. So I'll let you start this one off. In your ideal sleepover, what are you renting? Movies, games? What's on your list?
Well, I'm gonna get both. Obviously, I'm gonna get movies and games. But I'm gonna think back to my best sleepovers. In my best sleepovers, we're always watching comedy movies. As much as I love a horror movie, I can't say that a horror movie was always the best choice for my personal sleepovers. So I'm going to rent things like Dumb and Dumber.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Guys! Fellas.
I'm going to rent Austin Powers.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
It's a great double feature in and of itself. But I'm also going to think back to what I would watch all the time with my cousin. And it was this old VHS tape, Best of AFV, Best of America's Funniest Home Videos. Yeah. And that was all clips from when it was hosted by Bob Saget.
Oh, terrific. More diapers. Guess I'll ask them to move away from here in the only way I know how.
Sure, I'll have a
So the very, very first host, and I just have very, very fond memories with that tape.
Yeah, the very first host, by the way, and the best host. Sorry, I don't know about any of these other guys that took over. I love Bob Saget.
I mean, Tom Bergeron was kind of my host growing up, but I'll let it slide. You know, he was the originator. You know what I mean? Bob Saget was the guy. He's the one that they built the show for. So I'll give you that. It's understandable. So I'm for sure those are like my top 3 that I can think of that I would want to rent. And I guess I'll throw in, you know, something gory, maybe like a Child's Play 2.
Shit. Hi, I'm Tom.
Shut up, you idiot.
I'd like to be hugged. 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 I'd like to be hugged.
Hug this.
I'd like to be hugged. I'd like to be hugged. I'd like.
That's always a good time to watch at a sleepover.
That's
Although
a good
thinking back, in high school, whenever my friends would sleep over, we would do it once a year when Paranormal Activity was coming out.
Ooh.
And we would rent those once a year. And watching those in a dark basement was always a very frightening and good time. So I guess that's in the running too. Those are my movies.
Some good picks.
My games, on the other hand. my games. Now, this is very, very different because for me, my best sleepovers were always during the era of PS2, GameCube, Xbox, those consoles. So specifically PS2, that's what I remember playing the most. And I'm going to have to rent games like War of the Monsters, iNinja, any Tony Hawk game. Just it doesn't matter. I don't really care. You can give me Thug 2, you can give me Pro Skater 3, 4. I don't give a shit. I'll play it and I'll have a great time.
Skateboarding reaches new heights with new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, rated T for teens.
Very nice.
What about you?
I just want to comment on your picks really quick. I love the Austin Powers / Dumb and Dumber double feature. I think that's a great idea. I can't even say that Dumb and Dumber wouldn't be on my list because it would. That was one of the movies that was commonly watched by me and my little brother all the time as a kid, and I know that I introduced it to a bunch of kids over sleepovers at least once or twice. I like the idea of a comedy. If I'm renting a comedy at that point in time in my life, it's got to be Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Alrighty then.
Oh, man.
1 and 2. It has to be both.
Yeah, absolutely. Although I am partial to 2, but I'm partial to 2 because I watched the first one so much as a kid that it's like almost less funny to me now.
Right.
Almost. It's still funny, but it's almost less funny to me.
As long as we're still on comedy, I would say probably Weekend at Bernie's 2.
For a weekend of fun. A weekend with Bernie. He keeps going and going and going.
That was always one that I was like, just always had this fascination with. I watched the first one and I thought it was a great movie. And then when the second one hit, I was like, wow, they just kind of did the same thing over again. But like the second one, it was more or less like, I don't know, there was a lot of weirder shit involved. They were like, they had cast voodoo spells on him to like find a treasure chest. And it's like, well, this is weird. It's kind of the same thing, but now he moves around as he's dead. So it kind of pushed the boundary of maturity, I guess. I feel like.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be straight with you, Grimey. I never watched the sequel.
Never watched the sequel? Oh my god.
Maybe I'll have to now, but
now
I just
yeah.
always thought, what could I gain from a Weekend at Bernie's sequel,
dude?
And then I just never ventured into it. You know.
So wait until it starts to get warmer out. You're like, don't watch it now. It's. I know how you are, and I know how I am.
You know how I am.
Yeah, we can't watch stuff like this out of season. So yeah.
Yep.
Wait for a nice warm day.
All right, we'll watch it this summer, and I will report back once we do.
All right. So if I'm not getting comedy, I have on here that I would probably get something Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th. But if I'm being realistic right now, it would definitely be Killer Clowns from Outer Space and The Return of the Living Dead. Because let's just face it, those are the only movies I watch.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a joke. I think that might actually be
the only
true
two movies
point.
I watch. Like before I go to bed tonight, I'm gonna watch them again.
Like this year at Easter, you're gonna be with your family. This year at 4th of July, you're gonna be with your family.
Like, did you guys ever watch Return of the Living Dead? Like totally. I mean, you know, that way at least everybody knows what I'm up to. They don't have to keep tabs or anything. They already know what's happening in Grimey's life. So video games. Let's see if I'm opting for a video game. If I'm being true to what I used to rent all the time, it would undoubtedly be Beavis and Butthead for the Sega Genesis.
Change it. Feel the thrill of the chase. Discover new and powerful weapons. And control the destinies of America's leading morons.
Whoa.
2 morons, 3 different games. The Beavis and Butthead video game for Genesis, Game Gear, and Super NES.
Or it would be Mutant League Football for the Sega Genesis. There was one occasion where there was Resident Evil 2 involved for PS1.
A rookie cop facing unspeakable evil.
There's something really wrong here. These things aren't dying.
That was right around when PS1 came out. Just a fun game to play at the end of the night, and it starts getting dark out. You know, it's a little bit scary. You're just a little kid, and things are kind of strange when it comes to this. You know what always bothered me with Resident Evil 2 is that I wasn't good at controlling the characters. So when these zombies are coming at you, you're like, fuck, they're coming, and I can't get away from them. Like, that always...
Don't worry. Nobody was good at controlling the characters.
It was so bad.
I know that somebody says that they're good at that game, but they're a liar. They're just better than everybody else.
Yeah.
Nobody's good with those controls.
Same with like Tomb Raider, Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Like I was never good at those games, but I always rented them all the time. But I guess looking at it now, if I was to just be able to get whatever I wanted, the real raunchy one of the PS2, yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3 for sure.
Rockstar Games presents Grand Theft Auto 3.
Had to be
That'd
on
be a
that
great
list.
pick for a sleepover. Absolutely.
It's just so trashy and so good, and you're just, you know, shooting the fuck out of everything and beating people up and running into cops and stuff and taking cops out of their cars and just...
And telling your mom that, no, you did not pick up a hooker. That's not something that you would do, even if the game allowed it. You wouldn't do that.
That's not something the game does. So yeah, those are my choices for sure. So did you ever happen to play any outdoor games? Like anything that you would play outside during a sleepover with all your buddies?
So usually if you're at a sleepover and you're playing an outdoor game, by this point it's dark outside.
Right.
So the go-to it's dark outside, let's play outside game, obviously, is Manhunt, and sometimes flashlight tag. That was a big one for my friends for a while. I have to admit, I was never as big of a fan of those games as everybody else seemed to be when I was growing up.
Right.
Everybody seemed to be obsessed with playing games outside. I'm gonna give a real kind of lame wussy answer, but it's true to who I am. Okay,
that's all you need to be, man. That's all you need to be.
My outdoor games were always played in a screen house. In somebody's screen house, so in a screened-in porch or a screen house.
Oh, that's fine.
And they're always tabletop games. So right. I would always be illuminated, basked in a very dim light, one light hanging above us, and we'd be playing a card game or something like that. The big one for us was always Spoons. You ever play Spoons, the card game?
No, I never played. I know what it is, but I never played it.
Very frantic. It is very, very frantic. And it becomes even more difficult when you have a very, very small amount of light, because now you're trying to read all of these cards.
Oh, yeah.
Almost bathed in shadow, and you're just jumping for spoons, and it's very frantic. But yeah, games like that, that's really what I remember playing outside, and kind of what I would suggest playing outside at a sleepover, because now you're not in the woods getting bit by ticks or, eaten by a coyote or, whatever it might be.
Right. That's fair. So yeah, for me, we did do flashlight tag every once in a while, not very often. We played a game called Ghost in the Graveyard every once in a while. It's like opposite hide and go seek. So like instead of one person who has to go and find everybody, one person hides and everybody has to find you. This person who hides is quote unquote ghost, and they're hunting for you basically. So it's opposite hide and go seek is the best way I can describe it.
Okay.
And if
That's cool.
If we weren't doing that, we would be probably riding bikes and, doing shit we weren't really supposed to do, and going downtown and just doing, stupid crap that we weren't allowed to do anyways, but we did. Now, there's also a different type of sleepover I remember having, and it typically would happen during the summertime. Did you ever have a sleepover where it was just tents outside?
A few times, and mostly with my cousin. Again, it's always with my cousin. But what I remember believe it or not, I mentioned tabletop games. I'm kind of glad that you brought up the tent. I have a very, very vivid memory. We took his copy of Jumanji, the board game. We blew up an air mattress.
Yeah.
And we were playing Jumanji on an air mattress in a tent at midnight one night. And played it for, I don't even know, because we didn't have a clock out there, but probably for hours before we actually fell asleep and then got too cold because we got a little dude over when it finally got a little dewy out. But yeah, no, we definitely did the tent thing.
Oh yeah, the tent thing, that was like a whole other type of sleepover. I remember, we played some games in the tents too, but if we were having one of these kind of sleepovers, right now would be the time where I would be like, starting a fire, I guess, in the backyard and just genuinely hanging out around the fire. Or I don't know, if it was, say, July, we'd be lighting off fireworks or something, sparklers and little Roman candles and shit like that, firecrackers, just doing noisy teenager bullshit.
And again, this is our ideal sleepover, so we can do both if we want.
Exactly.
We can spend the first part of the evening outside because the weather is good enough, because this is all fantasy. And you know what else we can do? We can set up a projector outside with a campfire going.
Great idea.
And we can watch our movies that we just rented outside on the big screen.
And play our games on them too. We do both, all of it.
Fuck it. Can do it all.
Absolutely. Well, before we do that, I'd say right now is probably the perfect time to refuel the tanks. What do you say we get a little bit more food in our bodies?
Yeah, I'm getting a little hungry.
Get some sour cream and onion chips with some dip, man. Some beef jerky, some peanut butter. Get some Haagen-Dazs ice cream bars, a whole lot of hot. Make sure chocolate. Gotta have chocolate, man. Some popcorn, red popcorn, graham crackers. Graham crackers, the marshmallows, the little marshmallows, and little chocolate bars. And we'll make some s'mores, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yo.
Also, celery, grape jelly, Captain Crunch with the little crunch berries. Pizzas. We need 2 big pizzas, man. Everything on them with water, a whole lot of water, and Funyuns.
Right here, right now, I'm opting for anything that is quick and convenient. So anything that might be able to go in like a microwave or in the oven for a few minutes, stuff that didn't need to be made at all, too, were great choices. So we already mentioned pizza. Obviously, that's a big number one. If not like real pizza, we would almost always opt for something like pizza pockets or like pizza rolls or pizza bagel bites. All them little things that you could just throw in the microwave, or, vice versa. You could throw in the microwave or the oven really quick, and both good in their own respective ways.
I agree. I've always been a pizza roll guy though, versus a pizza bagel. The bagel bites never really did it for me. So
the bagel bites are fine, but it almost felt like it was too healthy for you. I know they weren't, but it almost felt like it was just not junk foody enough.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because your brain told you that you were eating breakfast food.
Yeah.
And breakfast was the most important meal of the day, wasn't it, Grimey?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you drew that connection that, I'm basically eating health food. And that's when you would break out the Totinos, because Totinos was pure garbage distilled into a roll form, and it was amazing. They're still amazing. I eat these all the time.
They are still amazing.
And you can probably tell. I don't care.
You could probably.
I don't give a fuck. I'll eat these till the day I fucking die.
You guys hungry? I'll make Totino's pizza rolls. I love Totino. But we have to be quiet.
My Totino's tastes like a cheeseburger. Mine tastes like a taco. I love Totino's.
They're so bad. And like people today that are eating them now are actually making them worse for you and putting them in like butter and like Parmesan and garlic and like herbs and spices and shit.
I know.
Oh man.
Yeah. It's very tempting, but I don't need to make them worse for me than, They already are. But yeah, no, absolutely. We need some snacks. So I think anything pizza adjacent that's not actual pizza is going to work here. Ideally, we're talking Totino's pizza rolls, but I'll even settle for like a Hot Pocket. Like a pepperoni Hot Pocket would work in this situation too.
Yeah, Hot Pockets are very underrated. They're super easy. I mean, you can get so many different ones. You got like one of my favorites was the cheeseburger one.
Cheeseburger!
Juicy, cheesy.
Cheeseburger!
Cheeseburger Hot Pockets. It's a guess, but we think people will like it. Cheeseburger from...
Oh, yeah.
That was kind of an underdog of Hot Pocket.
You know, back then I also liked the chicken parm ones, but thinking about that chicken now, I don't think that I could do that these days.
Right.
I think it would make me sick. That chicken was definitely not real chicken. I don't know what it was, but it was suspect.
Very sus, very sus. I always liked the, I think it was like ham, cheese, and broccoli, cheddar cheese, broccoli, and ham, or whatever.
Oh,
Those things slapped. Those were good.
Those were good. All right, so we're taking them both. We're getting Totino's pizza rolls, and we're bringing 5 different varieties of Hot Pockets to this sleepover because we're going crazy. We're balling out. We're living like we're on death row here. Okay, this is our last meal. All right. So we've got those two. What else? What other snacks are we bringing to the party here, bud?
I don't know about you, but I'm a huge popcorn guy. I don't care if it's going to the movie theaters or staying at home watching a movie or just hanging out with your homies on the weekend, what have you. Game night, no matter. There's got to be popcorn, so I'm making at least 2 fucking bags, and it's got to be the most filthiest buttery popcorn ever.
I'm Plato, the host of Pop Secret Pop Quiz. It's a great tasting popcorn, and it's a quiz. Today's challenge, new neon green. 1 of 6 popcorn colors. Matt here will try to find it.
Great hair, Plato.
New color, new do. Clock ticking.
Door number 3.
Let's see. Wrong. Keep guessing.
14.
No, sir.
5.
We've got a winner. Here on Pop Quiz, where the big question is, what'll pop up next?
Okay, all right. I'm glad that you clarified because I was about to ask, are we talking like Pop Secret, from the microwave? Are you talking about Smart Food, like a bag of Smart Food? Where were you going with it?
We're erring on the side of not Smart Food because while Smart Food is delicious, it's healthy for you, and that's not what we're aiming for.
I think that's been debunked. I don't think it's very healthy for you.
Right, but again, with like the pizza bagel bites, when you see Smart Pop, you think, oh, that's probably not. You know what I mean?
Smart Pop. That's different than Smart Food. You see?
Oh, that's what I meant. Smart Food. That's the one that like did the Crunch Berries popcorn, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
While not actually healthy for you in any way, shape, or form, not what I would opt for. It would always be you got to get the one that you pop yourself in the bag, and then you got to get the movie theater butter and the movie theater seasoning, and or you get for that cheddar dust. Cheddar dust. You fucking dust that fucker with a bunch of cheddar. Good. It's the way I want it. Popcorn's got to be there in one way or another.
Yeah, whatever. Corn representation for sure.
And if those weren't there, another big one for me is most definitely like chips and pretzels and like a dip.
That's fair. For a dip, it's got to be a French onion for me. I'm hoping you're the same. The same
French
way.
onion all the way. There's no other way.
All the way.
That's the one.
Like a nice hell of a good French onion dip.
That's
perfect for a
exactly
party.
it too. Hell of a good. Mm-hmm. It's got to have that old dude with the chip.
Damn right.
Mm-hmm.
Damn right. Honestly, you know what I love to pair with it are the Ruffles sour cream and cheddar chips.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's got the Ruffles. I never appreciated Ruffles when I was a kid. Not even a little bit.
You never do.
No.
You never do as a kid. Mm-hmm. But the older you get, the more you're like, all right, this is a banging chip. It's sturdy. It's salty. It's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
The ridges trap in that hell of a good like nobody else can.
Right. And while the Ruffles don't necessarily need the dip, it always complemented it so well, in my opinion. I know others feel differently about it. The Ruffles, you don't need nothing, but I beg to differ. I think that they do great with dip. In fact, there's no other chip you should be eating dip with.
I totally agree. And the fact that you would, the sour cream and cheddar Ruffles, they're a different story. But if you're buying a regular Ruffle chip without the intent of dipping, you're evil. You're a demon. I don't want to know you.
Totally.
I'm running down to a little local chain, okay? It's called Cumberland Farms. And the one thing that this sleepover has lacked henceforth this far, I don't know, whatever word I'm looking for, We're missing a Slurpee or like an icy counterpart. That to me is like the ultimate sleepover drink.
Hey, guys. Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
Now this place, if you don't know the wonders of a Cumberland Farms, let me break it down for you. It's a gas station, but it's like one of the nicer gas station convenience stores that you can go to. They've got everything in there. They've got food. They've got like every soda that you can imagine. And then they've got these Slurpee ices that they call chill zones. Actually, they're called hyper freezes now. They just changed it. But
dope.
for like 20 years, they were chill zones. So we're sticking with chill zone. Grimey, 89 cents. Any size you want. You can get small. You can get one that's like 2 liters of liquid. It's up to you. Doesn't matter which size you pick. 89 cents, which is why it's perfect for a sleepover, because all you and your buddies can head down for less than $1 and get the biggest size that they have. And they have 13 flavors on tap.
Wow.
13. And some of these flavors, they all have really great names. And I think you're going to appreciate these because they are very, very Kool-Aid adjacent. Flavors like Sucker Punch. That's a pineapple, orange, strawberry combo.
I want it.
How about Pinkosaurus?
I want that too.
That's a pink lemonade one. How about the Cotton Candy Commander?
I need that one. I need to try every one of these like it's a fucking Thanos gauntlet. I need to try every one of them.
So all 13 have these fun names, and they also have their own mascots. Not unlike Kool-Aid with Purplesaurus Rex and Charcoalberry Finn.
Nope.
Cotton Candy Commander, for example. He's a karate kicking cotton candy cone.
You're killing me.
Pinkosaurus, you already know what Pinkosaurus is.
He's a pink dinosaur. He's got to be.
Yeah, you're damn right.
Oh my god.
So yeah, we're waddling our ass down, or hitching a ride down to Cumberland Farms, and we're getting some of those. All of us. For less than $1 a piece, we're getting some of those icy drinks.
If we're going gas station, because we mentioned gas stations earlier, I didn't know if we were circling back around to this or not. But
oh yeah, you're allowed two trips. You're allowed 2 trips.
There is absolutely nothing like a late night Sheets run.
Always fresh and full of flavor, crispy, crunchy, thick and rich, spicy and feisty, and you can have them free on top of the plumpest, juiciest Pennsylvania Dutch hot dogs. Nothing tops Sheets toppings, except Sheets hot dogs. The famous Sheets hot dogs. Still 2 for 99 cents, plus free toppings.
All right, I'm fucking PA as it gets. We love our Sheets, especially anywhere between midnight and like 3 o'clock in the morning. We love them shits. We love the run to Sheets at 2, 3, midnight, whatever. We love it. And not for anything in particular. Maybe like a cheesy fries platter or something, or like fucking, they have the curly fries now. They've got all kinds of different things that they hadn't before, but like I usually kept it pretty basic with like cheese, fries, and whatever random junk, a pack of M&Ms or something. It didn't matter. Or like an icy, something Slurpee wise.
Is this the store that had the pumpkin spice soda a couple years back?
They did. They used to carry Faygo and Jones soda. They no longer carry either of those. Now they carry Sheets Pop. And one of their Sheets Pop flavors was the pumpkin pie, which was delicious.
Okay. That's what I remember. I remember you going down there and getting one of those. Okay, so maybe you go down to Sheets and maybe you grab whatever the new Sheets Pop is.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sheets Pop. Oh man.
And some cheese fries.
But finally, now we can move on. Let's get back into this the sleepover festivities here. All right, man, back to the grind. What kind of stuff you doing right now, buddy?
I'm not sleeping. That's for damn sure.
Me either. I'm awake.
Hell no. Hell no. Yeah, we've played outside. We rented our movies. We got our snacks. So now I think this is the thick of it, man. We're going to town. We're having the time of our lives at this sleepover. Well, what do we do? Well, obviously, I'm playing some of my PS2 games. That's a given, right? I'm definitely gonna pop in my Sly Cooper, and I'm just gonna play until I can't play no more.
Perfect. For this one, I'm gonna hit you with a very specific memory I remember having.
All right.
There was a sleepover at a buddy's house. They were all playing like Dragon Ball Z at one point on PS2. It was like Budokai or something I didn't know anything about at the time.
Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2, bitch. That was my game.
It was
back
a really
in the day.
good
My
game.
cousin and I.
Yeah.
I didn't know
game.
anything about Dragon Ball, but I knew I liked that game. That's what I knew.
It's a fun one.
And that was a sleepover game for me too.
But that was not what I was interested in at the time. Knew nothing about Dragon Ball Z. Didn't play this game at all. While they were all playing that, I remember witnessing a couple of Yu-Gi-Oh card battles and some Pokemon card battles and stuff that interested me, but not to the point where I would battle. I was not the battling type. I liked to trade cards, and that was as far as my Pokemon, and I didn't even get into Yu-Gi-Oh when I was a kid. Just didn't.
See, I got into the Yu-Gi-Oh battling with my cousin too. That's what we were
did you?
doing on
Another sleepover
sleepovers.
thing?
We were doing some Yu-Gi-Oh card battling. It was a good time. Only card game I've ever picked up. It was a good time back then.
All right, well, while you little shits were off doing all that.
While you were off doing that nerd shit.
Now, think back. This is like, mid-90s. Not everybody had a computer. Not everybody had the internet. I, myself, did not have either of those things. My buddy had both. So while they were all doing their thing, I was face deep in a computer screen, learning all about the interwebs. And boy, what a time to be alive when something like E-Bombs World and, Newgrounds and stuff was just like really getting popular. And stuff like Joe Cartoon. This was also the age of instant messaging. So like, I remember being on ICQ. That was the first time I ever registered and got my number. 275229064, by the way. Of course I remember that. Yeah.
Holy shit. I cannot believe it.
Yes.
Wow. Do you have that tattooed on you somewhere?
It's actually on the inside of my lip. Yeah. I have it tattooed there. And underneath,
I can't tell if he's joking.
Underneath that it says message for a good time.
Okay, now I know he's not joking because he never fit it all on his lip.
No.
Okay, anyways, okay. I like where your head's at. Okay. Old school internet. That was a staple. Computer time during. Oh my god. Mm-hmm. I resent the fact that computer time now is not like how computer time used to be.
Dude, I know people who don't even have computers now. They just have their phones. Just their phones.
I know. I understand it. They're kind of one and the same at this point.
Yeah, sure.
There's no real good reason to have a computer anymore for most people because you can do it all on your phone.
Right here on the phone.
Because everything is so boring and streamlined. Back then, especially at a sleepover, you could get into some fun shit back then. I mean, you mentioned Newgrounds.
Yes.
Holy crap, did I spend a lot of time on Newgrounds. I had one friend back then. That's all we did. Every time I slept over his house, it was like Newgrounds night. We would go on. We would watch the Numa dance.
Oh my god, yes.
On loop.
Right?
Mr. Happy Face. Do you remember that cartoon?
Definitely remember that.
Mm-hmm. That was a little raunchy. And another one that we will watch a lot. This isn't from Newgrounds, but just any Flash cartoon, really, right? Like JibJab.com.
JibJab.
That was my introduction to politics. I had no idea what the fuck was going on with the Bush administration, but I learned it all through JibJab. And I think my number one for years and years and years, if we're talking Flash cartoons and eventually games, homestarrunner.com, dude. I was obsessed with homestarrunner.com. I would check it every single day. Every day to see if there was a new Strong Bad email, to see if there was a new Flash game uploaded. But it felt different when there was like 5 kids crowded around one old ass computer screen.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
And one kid was steering the ship.
Yep.
One kid had the mouse, and everybody's yelling, "Go over here, do this, look this up,"
and all just giggling
such
your
a good
asses
time.
off. Like that was a vibe, whole different vibe,
big time.
Now we used to opt for like, I remember Ill Will Press was pretty big at that point in time with like the Foamy cartoons. Did you ever watch Foamy cartoons? Foamy the Squirrel?
Ooh. No, that's not ringing a bell for me.
Really? You've never watched Foamy cartoons? Holy shit, you are in for it. I won't talk about them much here, but I'll send you some videos later, and you're gonna love them.
Oh, please do. I'm gonna fall asleep to them.
So yeah, Foamy cartoons was a big one. Basically a goth chick and a very hyperactive squirrel who's mad at the world, pissed off at everything, living beings, but his owner is obviously a human, and he likes bagels and cream cheese and coffee and all these things that are very hipster centric. But he's avoiding all that stuff, and he's just kind of caught in the middle of it and just wants to enjoy his thing. So that's one thing that I used to watch. E-Bomb's World. We used to play Kitty Cannon at least 20 times. Kitty Cannon was a big one. Did you ever play the Bill Cosby Fun Game?
No, I don't think I ever played the Bill Cosby Fun Game.
Oh my God. So quick synopsis of the Bill Cosby Fun Game. You're Bill Cosby, and you are unaliving people. And there's different members of like, there's a couple members of Family Matters, like Carl Winslow's there. Rosie O'Donnell's there. You like buy stuff off of Rosie O'Donnell. Like eventually you put so many people in this like hole in your basement, you have to like buy lime and stuff to like keep the smell away. And
holy shit,
when you win the Bill Cosby Fun Game, you take a ride with the Olsen twins on a motorcycle into the sun.
Wow, that is the early internet randomness that I
so
miss.
Good.
They
so
just
good.
don't do it like they used to.
No.
And I'm glad that you brought that up. Flash games, that was a big part of it too. Where at sleepovers, we would just spend hours playing these games. It didn't matter that we had just rented or had a bunch of brand new shiny PS2 games to play. We would just spend so much time playing these cheap free little games that had very little gameplay.
Totally.
And we were so obsessed with them. Games like Alien Hominid was a big one for me.
Oh yeah.
Crush the Castle. Again, Homestar Runner. They had a bunch of games on that website. Peasant Quest. Did you ever play that?
I don't think I know that one.
Website.
No.
It's just an old text adventure game. You remember the beginning of the movie Big when he's typing in commands, and he's like, "Oh, slay the wizard" or whatever.
Okay,
and then he hits enter, and it's like, "You have slain the wizard." It's like that.
Oh,
but
okay.
Homestar Runner-ified.
Oh, wow.
It was great. I spent a lot of time on that. And later on, my friends and I in high school, we played games like Quap or Happy Wheels.
Happy
Quap
Wheels was a good one. Yeah, I always
Happy
loved
Wheels
playing
was a fantastic game. Well, Quap, for those of you who don't know, you were an Olympic runner, and you're trying to run on a track, and you control the legs, the upper and lower portion of each leg with the the letters on the keyboard Q, W, and then O and P for left and right legs. And that was a fucking nightmare of a game, but we all had a good time doing it.
Yeah.
And Happy Wheels, if you've never played it, just look it up. One of the best games ever created,
Absolutely.
bar none. Amazing.
Hi, it's Vince with ShamWow. You'll be saying wow every time you use this towel. It's like a chamois, it's like a towel, it's like a sponge. A regular towel doesn't work wet. This works wet or dry. This is for the house, the car, the boat, the RV. ShamWow holds 20 times its weight in liquid. Look at this. It just does the work. Why do you want to work twice as hard? Doesn't drip. Doesn't make a mess. Wring it out. You wash it in the washing machine. Made in Germany. You know the Germans always make good stuff. You can cut it in half. Use one as a bath mat. Drain your dishes with the other one.
We're on the last leg of the sleepover. It's late night. We don't bring pillows and blankets to the party to sleep, though. We bring them just in case we do fall asleep and it gets cold. there's always that part in time where you're like, I'm freezing, please give me a blanket, and they're like, here's the coffee table, or like, here's my fucking rug in the middle of my room. And you just grasp for anything that's around you. That's the only reason you bring a sleeping bag.
I've got this roll of paper towels. You can use this, I guess, as both a pillow and a blanket somehow. I don't. There's a card table in the basement. You can maybe pull that over you to keep you warm.
Here's the door to my mom and dad's bedroom. Just use that. Here's my cat.
Just sleep in their bed. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Sleep next to them. Holy shit. So yeah, it's never in the plans to go to sleep, but at least 2 of the crew are probably down for the count at the moment as we speak. But yeah, my late nights usually consisted of just anything to try and stay awake. So, right now we're probably cracking jokes back and forth, or anything to make each other laugh while tirelessly keeping our eyes open. What about you? What kind of things are you doing right now?
Well, that's it. I mean, we've got a TV on, but we've got a TV on very, very low, very quietly. Yeah. So it's lighting up the room a little bit, but usually at this point in a sleepover, my friends and I are very deep in a conversation about why Terminator Salvation was or wasn't a good movie, or things like that. You know what I mean? Just talking about the whole history of the Terminator franchise, or something very trivial like that, and how they could make it better. Or, like you said, we're just like finding the most mundane things so funny. It's like we've heard the best joke ever told, and we are geeking out and absolutely losing our shit, because nobody wants to admit it, but we're all exhausted. So no matter what we're doing, it is the funniest thing anybody's ever done.
Absolutely. My mom's probably come up at least 2-3 times already to tell us to shut up and go to sleep. So like you, my TV's on, it's dim, and this is at the point where Nintendo, like the original Nintendo, wasn't completely obsolete, but it was strange to find someone with one that still works in their house. So we turned the volume on the TV down as low as it can go while you could still hear it. And a big game we used to always play was the 1986, I believe, version of baseball for the regular original Nintendo. So that was, I don't know, it's a fun 2-player game, and you can just swap the controller back and forth very easily. Mom come up 1 or 2 more times while we're playing it, and we'd hurry up and just turn the TV off, and that's pretty much how that would go.
This is sneaky. It's the sneaky part of the night. I mean, video games, sometimes we would turn on a video game, but ideally what I'm doing is we're laying down and we are over analyzing an infomercial on late night TV.
The old infomercials.
Because we're past the point, we've stayed up so late that we're past the point of late night shows and anything actually being on TV. So all we have at this point is an old Ronco infomercial where he's showing us about his chicken rotisserie and just watching to see how this guy is cooking his chicken and like in injecting full garlic cloves in the middle of a pork line. Shit like that, man. Hey, there is this one point where my friend and I, we pulled our first all-nighter ever, and we got so tired and so delirious that he became a savant all of a sudden and was hyper aware of things that were going on.
Oh, wow.
And he noticed on one of those infomercials that they were using simulated CGI steam over the food
because it was real steam.
It was going over and over in the same pattern, and he's like, steam doesn't occur naturally like that. Look, it's doing the same patterns over and over again. And his eyes he's like glued to the TV screen.
Going on?
It's like 4 in the morning, and he's like, why is the steam doing that? So God. That's probably what I'm doing in my late night. We're probably pulling an all-nighter and watching every infomercial that TV is showing at that point.
That's fair. So if I'm in the scenario of the tents, I am still by the fire, but choosing to go into the tents, and where I more than likely will fall asleep, and most inevitably will probably get fucked with. People drawing on my face or whatever, or vice versa. It's happening to someone else. I mean, that just is the way things go. There's always a chance where we don't actually move up into my bedroom, or where there's just like 7 different kids laying all over the living room floor. If that's the case, we either watched South Park, or we had that on to the point where all the seriously raunchy shit would come on. And anybody who had Comedy Central back in that time, I don't know if it still happens now or not. It probably does, or something worse. But when I was growing up, we had Girls Gone Wild.
Yep.
So,
yep.
While you're watching South Park, in between there would be like 1 or 2 commercials every once in a while, and you'd be like, "Oh, there's that." Like those are there. And well, what I didn't realize until like later on, a little bit later in my teen years, one night when I was just laying around with my friends, there's like a whole 4-hour segment of just Girls Gone Wild, like this party thing going on, and of course that made it all worth trying to stay up for.
Well, again, that night that I'm thinking of when we found the simulated Steam was also the first night that we had found a Girls Gone Wild infomercial. And to say that night wasn't life-changing would be a lie. That was just, we walked out of that first all-nighter. I don't want to say men, because that's a little bit of an overstatement, right. But we saw some shit that night. And, that was something. So yeah, I guess in an ideal sleepover, I don't necessarily want to watch that.
No. Honestly,
if it's somebody's first sleepover, it's like a rite of passage, If we're going for best sleepover ever, it's life-changing.
Yeah, it's included. Honestly, now, the best sleepover at this point in time right here for me, it's probably more infomercials. Like, give me some ShamWow, give me some Slap Chop.
Yeah, my ideal one is that, we've done all the things that we've said, and by the time we finish and we're laying down, it's like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we actually do go to sleep and nobody draws on anybody's faces.
Yeah.
And we get a full 8 hours.
Yep. Basically.
That's my ideal.
And also nobody else is over at my house, and it's just like me, and I'm don't have the sleepover.
You heard it here, you heard it here first, folks. You just listened to an hour and a half of a podcast where we're building our ideal sleepover, and our ideal sleepover is to not have one.
Turn it over without even putting any pressure. 50% of the cola right there. You follow me, camera guy? The other 50%, the color starts to come up. No other towel's gonna do that. It acts like a vacuum. And look at this, virtually dry on the bottom. See what I'm telling you? ShamWow, you'll be saying wow every time.
I can't live without it. I just love it.
Oh my gosh.
So, from dinner to Blockbuster, buying snacks, staying up late, playing video games, we kind of covered it all, didn't we? Like what we would want to do in our ideal sleepover, and sort of reminiscing along the way. The one thing I will say, now that our sleepover is over, that I don't know if you experienced, but for me, when I was growing up, once a sleepover was done, we got through the whole night, it's the next morning. To me, it was always such a bummer that the sleepover was done. You have to go back home, you have to leave your good times behind, and even if you have a full day ahead of you where you can, do something fun, it's kind of going to pale in comparison to what you did the night before.
That's true.
For me, it always sort of had the same feeling of like going back to school after summer break, where like there's this weird like liminal space between like, man, I had a really great night and we've got a little bit of time left before I have to go back to school on Monday, but like, I don't know. We're in a weird limbo, but I think we kind of found a way around it this time, because all of that took place on a Friday night.
And what's the best part about a Friday night?
That it's the beginning of the weekend, bitch.
We have officially landed in Saturday land.
Saturday land, that's right. So your mom's going to come pick you up from this sleepover. You're going to go home and you're going to have the best Saturday morning that any kid has ever had. And you have the full fucking weekend ahead of you. Doesn't that sound great?
It does sound great. It sounds absolutely stupendous. So stay tuned.
Oh, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
But anyways, if you enjoyed this sleepover episode, you're going to want to make sure that you're following us on all of our socials because we post there regularly and you'll know when our next episode drops. There's a lot of great stuff going up all the time over on our Instagram at Leftover Pizza Podcast, on our Twitter at Leftover Pizza Club. And as always, you can join us over on the Facebook group, the Leftover Pizza Club. And don't forget, if you join there, we will send you a free sticker and membership letter just for joining.
Absolutely. And if you didn't get enough of us over there, you can check out leftoverpizzaclub.com, where we have a bunch of nostalgic articles and some video content and beautiful pictures. We also have a shop over there, the Obscure Shop. Check that out. Might be having some drops sometime soon. You never know.
You never know. And if you don't want to support us by buying merch, you can support us for free by leaving us a rating and a review wherever you're listening to us. So on iTunes, Spotify, drop us a 5-star if you think we're worth it. It really does help us continue to grow.
Speaking of listening to us, we are now on Patreon. We got a few subscribers. We'd like to see a few more.
That's right. Starting at $1 a month, you can get some exclusive articles that will only ever be posted on the Patreon. And for $3 a month, you get the articles plus a monthly bonus show where Grimey and I shoot the shit and talk about some new stuff, some old stuff, and just have a great conversation. So if you're interested in joining and supporting the show a little bit, you can find us over there, patreon.com/Leftover Pizza Club.
And with that, we bid you farewell. I am Grimey.
And I am Derek. And honestly, I think it's time to go to bed.
It is time. I know my mom came up one more time to tell us to fuck off, and I'm just like, maybe we should just go to bed.
I think it's time to go to bed. All right. Well, I'm going to go pop on a Time Life commercial and fall asleep to the sweet sounds of Celine Dion.
All right. I'm going to draw all over Nick's face really quick.
Yeah, fuck you, Nick.
Peace out.